The previous basket is under review.
Cinderella Watch continues for a second week. Scout team, I'm Kevin Sweeney, Eric Fawcett, here on the Basket Under Review YouTube channel. Please subscribe to Basket Under Review, your home for all things independent college hoops coverage. And Fawcett, I think this is a video that the subscribers will love today. And I think that in general, I think everybody who is truly a college hoop sicko can get down with is checking out some of these best of the best mid-major teams, and not just really good teams, but teams that play a unique way and have found ways to build unique personnel and rosters that allow them to win at an elite level at in many cases really difficult places to win. I think you could point to real challenges at all four of the programs we'll talk about today, particularly in this landscape, but not exclusively in this landscape, and all four coaches doing really awesome things to find ways to have elite success in this era.
Yeah, everyone's always, asking who will be the Cinderella teams. You talked a couple of weeks ago on episode that maybe for some of these teams that'll be in the 7 to 10 range in terms of seed, or sorry, like more like the 5 to 7 range might run into some tougher, mid-major teams or low major teams that could really make some noise. And as much as there are a lot of challenges at the bottom and middle of the sport, it still seems like the teams that come to the top of the leagues, I think, are very, very good, and really excited to talk about four teams that I think could really cause problems in March today.
Yeah. The team I want to first talk about is probably the best story on this group. It's William and Mary. And William and Mary is one of the longest tenured members of the Never Made the Tournament Club. They have been pounding away for years upon years and have never quite broken through. They have real challenges. Obviously, they play in a league in the CAA now with teams that have $1 million, $2 million, even I think in Charleston's case about $3 million in NIL. Certainly, William and Mary not at that level. They also have more limitations in terms of the portal and what they can do. Although they've had some more success doing that here lately. They're a high academic place. So you're fighting a lot of battles, but I think you and I have both really admired Brian Earl from afar as one of the sharper minds in college coaching, particularly at the mid-major level, and the job that he did down the stretch at Cornell with their incredible pace and offense. And he has brought that system to William and Mary with incredible success early on in his tenure there.
Yeah, that's what makes William and Mary so much fun, is not only are they winning and looking like a team that can make the tournament, but they're doing it with a style that is so much fun to watch. If you look at KenPom, their pace numbers are off the charts, and a lot of it is the pace they play with in the half court as well. Playing this Princeton style where they constantly will throw it to the kind of trail post and get into different backdoor cutting actions or splits. So you see all these plays just within the flow of the offense, finding that trail big and guys just absolutely sprinting into screens. And as they get into those screens with a lot of pace, that's what opens up the opportunity for the backdoor cuts. So as you watch them play, they just get up the court quickly, they get to spots quickly, they immediately get into actions, and they just catch defenders sleeping. And it is a ton of fun to watch. I also think that as much as showing a lot of the stuff in the half court, because that's what I think is underrated, they do get up and down really, really quick. So you see in transition as well shortly how these bigs get up and down the floor and just really wear down opponents. And what I do think is kind of notable about that is the CAA is a very, very slow league traditionally, and a lot of other teams in the league do play very, very slowly still. And if you're looking at how you kind of differentiate yourself, how you could play a little bit of a different style and overcome some teams that have maybe a little bit more talent, you probably need a little bit of a style that's different. And I think that William and Mary are going to surprise some teams in their league with that incredible pace, and that makes them very interesting to watch.
Yeah, no question. And a few things that stand out to me. Number one, we talked about Colorado State last week and some of their Princeton style concepts. It's cool to see a team like Colorado State run Princeton at a very slow pace, one of the slowest in the country, and then a different very different style. William and Mary be the fastest offense in the country per KenPom, doing a lot of the same concepts and still really relying on a lot of the same principles. I think that's really, really cool and special to watch. And again, a great example of adapting to the types of personnel you can get at your level in your league, but also finding some gems in the portal that have really helped. And I think the one guy that I would point out that we don't necessarily have clear film just from him on, but has been phenomenal is Killian Brockhoff, who is a big time international prospect, I believe, out of Germany. A couple years ago, went to Santa Barbara, didn't really play, goes and transfers to St. Louis to be like Robbie Avila's understudy, doesn't really play. Just wanted to go somewhere he could have an opportunity, and he has gotten all of those chances at William and Mary, and is someone that can really anchor an offense because he has the size, the passing ability, and the ability to stretch the floor. Made 4 threes in a win at Duquesne. Was big time in their loss to GW that was very competitive. He's a really special and unique talent, and the type of guy that they have to hit on in the portal, and certainly did a good job of doing that. So I do think their style may hold them back in some regards against big, super athletic teams, but you get to March and it's a short prep situation. You're dealing with all that they do stylistically. That's a scary proposition in my eyes.
Yeah, different style than a lot of high majors are used to seeing. We have seen some teams in the past that do so much cutting and so much off-ball work and play with such pace. Has surprised some teams, but yeah, I mean, hey, if you're William and Mary and so many of these teams, I know that our sport is so based on what you do in March. Can you upset a bigger team with your style? But I mean, man, if you're a mid-major coach, I do think at a lot of these places, including especially William and Mary that has to make the tournament, like, yeah, your focus has to be how do you differentiate yourself and how do you win your league? And I think that they have really well positioned themselves to do it. I don't know if this will be a team at the top of my list to potentially get an upset win if they were to make the bracket, but I would if I'm them, like, yeah, I'm focused solely on winning the CAA, and that's what it looks like they're doing. But hey, at the same time, I was shocked pleasantly to see them, approaching top 125 in KenPom. We'll see at the time of this releasing what they are exactly, but that also is a number that suggests that maybe they could surprise a team. So we'll see. But whatever the case would be, if you're looking for a fun team to watch, I think that the pace and the half court offense of William and Mary will be a really, really good watch if you haven't taken the time to watch one of their games yet.
Yeah, no question. And again, a coach and a program who've done a great job of really finding guys who developed into potential pros, right? Like Chris Magnon was at Vandy last year. This is someone that was, at Cornell with Coach Earl and developed into a stud there. A.K. Okereke is at Vandy now. He was a Cornell guy playing for Earl. And I think you'll see some of these William and Mary guys continue to develop into potential pros. And I think that is going to have to continue to be a way that the places like William and Mary separate themselves in recruiting, is like they have a track record of getting guys better and helping them parlay that into real pro opportunities. And, I think that system and learning how to play in concepts, move without the basketball, play with pace constantly, that all prepares you at an elite level for the NBA or professionally in Europe and across the world. So I wanted to give them a shout out too for the success they've had doing that. Another program that has obviously pumped out great players and pumped out pros is Yale. And, 3 of the last 4 years in the NCAA tournament, it doesn't seem to matter who they lose. They just keep rebuilding and reloading, right? You had an amazing team that beats Auburn in the NCAA tournament. Danny Wolf goes off to Michigan. They lose Matt Nowling to USC. They lose, all of these key pieces. And last year they're just as good, if not better. KenPom says they were actually better, and obviously lose to A&M in the first round. You lose all these guys. Oh, Bezem Bang gone. John Poulakidis gone. How are they going to possibly keep it up? And you look up and Yale once again is rolling on along, dominating through the non-conference slate, beating some phenomenal mid-major programs in that run, and look like the clear favorites in the Ivy League. And it all starts with Nick Townsend, who's been the latest, maybe unorthodox Yale superstar, who has really emerged. He was good last year. He's been great. here as a senior.
Yeah, Townsend has really kind of set the tone with the pressure he can put on the rim with his anytime he kind of catches the ball near the or in the paint with 2 feet in the paint, it seems like he's going to be able to score. And Yale has had a lot of success playing this style in recent years, which like you kind of alluded to, it's incredible. You just go back and look at Yale's KenPom pages, just like 68, 74, 72, 70, like just like they're just always in that range, no matter how much the roster changes. And this year, yeah, it is very set up by the fact that they have these two post players who are so good, capitalizing on mismatches. They can play this kind of high-low game and kind of pick on whoever has the smaller, least equipped defender. They find that guy. They can get post pins and score really easy ones, or get traditional post ups and cause help. And that's something that they've done really well too, is once they get the ball into the paint, using kind of different movements off ball to create open 3-point looks. And that's provided a lot of high percentage looks. They don't take a ton of threes, but they're hitting them at a very, very good rate. And that's obviously somewhat of a good recipe for success. Get some pressure on the rim with the post up. Kind of love it too. Like a lot of the actions when they throw it into the paint are just like, okay, like someone just go pin for someone. If the low man leaves to go double, just wherever you are, go and pin in your own man and try to create a 3-point opportunity on the opposite side. So that's been fun to watch too. And I think that the way that they will slow games down and try to pick on mismatches with their size could be really interesting. They're going to have a game with Alabama here, which will be a very interesting clash of styles and give somewhat of a look at how competitive they could be in a game in March. But I do see the Ivy League being down from what the Ivy League has been for a long time. I know they also weren't great last year, but while it seems like every other team in the league has taken steps back, Yale has stayed the same. And it really does seem like this league belongs to them. And we will see them playing in March with a decent seed and being a team that a lot of people kind of maybe even like a lot of like casual people who just see Yale there and kind of give them like the blind, like, yeah, this is the team that could get an upset.
Yeah, my concern is the lack of 3-point shooting / the lack of firepower generally. Right, like this is a team that is going to have to manufacture so much of its offense through the post, and as you play against bigger, more athletic teams, what does that really look like? I don't think we totally know yet. But again, they have a great track record in these type of games, and they do have the size to not get overwhelmed. Right, it's when you're starting really 6'1" point guard, but then 6'6", 6'7", 6'7", 6'10". That's pretty hard to deal with, especially at this level. I think Isaac Celiscar, who was a role player last year, has really emerged and looks like a key piece. He's someone that is probably the next in line to be that dude at Yale once Townsend graduates here this year and either goes on to pro hoops or a consulting job in New York City. We'll see which path he chooses. But they've done an absolutely phenomenal job in recruiting and talent evaluation and then player development. And guys who are willing and patient enough to stick it out and become key pieces, like a Trevor Mullen, who was playing 10 minutes a game last year and very much on the fringes of the rotation. Now he gets to be the starting point guard, and he's been really terrific and had a phenomenal game when they beat UIC earlier this month, and has made shots at a high level. He's their best 3-point shooter at 39%, and so they just have a lot of different ways that they can go get you. And I love watching this group. I think it's truly one of the great programs in college basketball, and look forward to hopefully seeing them once again put a scare into a 4-3 seed come NCAA tournament time.
Yeah, I think so. When you talk about like one of the great programs, just thinking about like I mentioned earlier, where it's just like crazy. You look at the last like 6 years, and Yale's just always in that like 60 to 90 KenPom range. To see what James Jones has done there, really impressive. I know that's another guy that, as we will often just talk about coaches that do or do not get talked about in jobs. I know that's a well publicized one who a lot of people publicize the fact that he has not gotten talked about in jobs, and obviously there's a lot of advantages, a lot of challenges at the same time with an Ivy League, but I think there's a whole lot of programs that would have signed up for the last 6 or 7 years of Yale if you could just like guarantee that, which you can't do. But yeah, what it's done is impressive, and it is kind of fun to talk about a team like Yale, like where I hope we're talking about William and Mary in a couple of months here, but I'm not. You can't be certain we will. Whereas like Yale, I do feel like we are going to see in a bracket and can be fairly confident in that, and that means this might not be the last time we talk Yale.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's talk Akron, who actually came up just short against Yale earlier this season. That's one of their 3 losses. Purdue, Yale, and Murray State. So they've been in good company, but they've also had some impressive wins. James Madison, they blew out an Iona team that's pretty darn good. Handled Tulane on the road, and really had surged, I believe, into the fringes of the top 50 in KenPom before that Murray State game, and have an opportunity to continue to climb back with an absolutely elite offense and a coach in John Gross who, he did have his struggles at the high major level at Illinois, but man, has he been phenomenal for Akron. And I give them a lot of credit because Nate Johnson left them on the later side of the portal in the final few days, and he was their best player coming back. A guy that they were really counting on having be a part of their team. You can't easily replace him at that point in the process, and it just the train keeps rolling. These small guards like Tavari Johnson, just so much fun to watch when they're clicking.
Yeah, that's it. It all starts with the small guards in the backcourt with Tavari Johnson and Shema Scott. Like these guys are just threats at all times to get downhill, and especially Johnson, his like creativity. Like you'll see times where he gets fouled and he gets the ball knocked out of his hands, and even in midair he's able to get it again and still lay the ball in. And there's just so much downhill pressure that Akron's able to put on you with 2 of these guards that are constantly getting paint touches, that it makes it really difficult to guard them. And as you start to see teams adjusting to, okay, these are 2 guards that can really get into the paint and finish, you see teams really starting to pack the paint and sending a lot of help one pass away, aggressive low man early. And then you kind of see the counter to that from Akron, where they've really started to set a lot of flares, a lot of pin downs where guys can fade, and kind of really punishing defenses for sitting in the gaps against these smaller guards. And suddenly they've got these shooters who can knock down shots off movements and off screens. So as you see a lot of these defenses really loading up against these guards, trying to keep them out of the paint, Akron's really punishing them with flares. And then as you start to see that teams are really starting to adjust to the flares, you're seeing those screeners getting a lot of slips to the rim. And as we keep talking about how these dominoes start to fall, that is how they are a top 20 KenPom offense right now, which is pretty tough to do at the MAC level. Now, this is probably the time we talk about the fact that the MAC has been a lot better, which is like too bad. Like I think about if this Akron team was in like the MAC last year, obviously, I thought Akron is still pretty good last year, but they would have like really, really dominated. And the league is going to be a little bit more challenging and probably make a really interesting tournament this year. But it also means that if in Akron, were to win this league, they're probably not saddled with like some horrible seed that gives them, no chance at being competitive. This is a team that I could see giving a high major team some issues. I think that those 2 guards are 2 guys that are just kind of like built for March. Like I think that one of those guys could have a big story. Not that they have elite size, but they've got some guys at the center that I think could be competitive with bigger programs. But yeah, I mean, if they're going to really make some noise, it's going to be with the offense with this smaller lineup. That's pretty difficult to handle. But yeah, very, very fun watch.
Yeah, and again, I like to always point out coaches that can continue to adapt to their personnel, right? John Gross took Akron to the NCAA tournament and won 24 games in 2022. That team was 352nd in tempo, and it was all about like battering ram people at the rim with great size up front with guys like Enrique Freeman, who became a pro, and the last couple of years, now all of a sudden it's like, let's run and gun and play with small guards who can really play. Like this, it's really, to me, it's more about, all right, what have they had personnel wise that works? And then let's figure out a system that fits around that. And they've obviously really reinvented themselves into one of the best kind of run and gun teams in college basketball, which I think is a lot of fun to watch. And as you said, this league will certainly test them with Miami, Ohio, who's really, really talented and brings a ton back. Lost by 1 to Akron in the conference championship last year. Bowling Green's off to a great start. Kent State 9-1 at time of recording. I also am very impressed with UMass, Frank Martin's team. That's a team that obviously talent-wise, probably belongs closer to the A-10 where they've been. And, it seems like they've turned a corner, had some big high major wins over Florida State and BC. I understand what that means in terms of who they were beating, but high major wins are high major wins. You take them how you can get them. And so, I do think this league will be very, very entertaining here throughout the conference season. And I know we often get like Friday night games with that league. So hopeful if you want to go tune in, like Friday, January 30th, Akron, Kent State, in-state rivalry. Like, clear your plans, people. No date night for you. Got to go watch Akron versus Kent State. It should be a good one.
Yeah, should we talk one more interesting watchability scheduling team here?
Yeah, this one you're probably not going to have to cancel date night for, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, because they're playing deep into the night out in the Big West, and it is a lot of fun. And I think Iran Ganat has done a nice job of building a pretty consistent program there. Obviously, some benefits, but but also of being in tropical climate, but also some real challenges. And he has his best team in quite some time, I think. And this is a group that it would not shock me at all if they win a very competitive Big West, off to a great start, an elite defensive team in particular. And I think that's something maybe a little different than a lot of our videos. We love to talk offense. We love to highlight these great stylistic things that people are doing. And sometimes it's just about the way that you guard and your discipline and principles. And they've been elite in that regard.
Yeah, so Hawaii's been really interesting for the last couple of years with a really good defense, because they play this extreme style of like aggressive drop coverage with really heavy gap help. Like, they will just all out leave shooters in order to protect the paint. And because of that, every year they have really good pick and roll numbers, or I shouldn't say because of that, but the results have been that they've had really, really good pick and roll defensive numbers. They force so many mid-range jump shots because they just do not allow ball handlers to get right to the rim. Now, one of the kind of, I guess, crazy stats is like that they're still kind of, despite doing that, they're still able to keep teams off the 3-point line. Like, they don't shoot a lot of 3-point attempts. So it's this like wild wizardry where they are completely kind of like aggressively taking away the paint, yet they're still able to recover at shooters with like at a really high level. And even when they get shots, like, they contest them at an extremely high rate. Like, that's another kind of synergy number I really like, is how many of the catch and shoot shots you give up, how many are like contested, and Hawaii just like contests them at such an extremely high level. And for them to play this extreme drop coverage while also eliminating opponent 3-point looks and defending them at a really high level, like, teams are shooting a really low percentage, which I think is actually for real, because teams are shooting a really low percentage. But when you look at the film, it's like they are all like really heavily contested. Like, I think their defense is legit. And I think when you look at kind of what it would take for them to make the NCAA tournament, looking at the Big West Conference, like, that is a conference that historically, or not historically, like for the last kind of decade or so, has been really dominated by defensive teams. And right now, Hawaii's the best defensive team. So like, they're playing a style that has worked in that league, and they're, to make the tournament, they're going to have to beat other really good defensive teams. And at least through the first months of the season, like, they've been the best. So I do think they are positioned to make an NCAA tournament. And I think that because of the style they play, they could be well set up to really frustrate high major teams. You've seen them lose their two high major teams, or two high major games so far, Arizona State and Oregon. But those were both really close games. And particularly Oregon was really kind of flummoxed by that pick and roll defense. So I also like that there's like a bit of novelty with that, like, really extreme pick and roll coverage, but it's not like too funky or out there, so it's not like they're playing some wacky zone. So it's kind of just that perfect sweet spot, I think, of like play differently enough to surprise a team, but don't be so kind of wacky that it's a clear novelty that a team that's prepared for it could beat it. So really interesting team, and one that's worth staying up late for.
Yeah, and they're also, have a ton of size, right? Start a center who's 7 feet tall in Isaac Johnson, who's been well traveled. Yassine Toomey, 6'10", Harry Ruliadif, 6'9", Namiksa who transferred in originally from Xavier, 6'8". Troy Bullock is a big wing athlete. Isaac Finlinson from junior college has been a nice piece. He's 6'8". They were supposed to be even bigger. Tanner Cuff was going to be their primary point guard at 6'7". He tears his ACL right before the season. But it's really challenging, especially in this day and age, for mid-majors to build like a legitimate positional size and depth across the front line, and they've done that at a very high level. So I think that certainly contributes to why they've been so good defensively. Is their length and connectivity on the defensive end. So I love them, and I think the Big West is always a great race, but this year certainly looks intriguing. Irvine's a top 20 defense right now. Santa Barbara is probably the most talented team once again. And then UC San Diego 9-1. We talked about Ali Farouk-Manesh keeping it rolling at Colorado State. Clint Allard doing the same with the Tritons after Eric Olin headed off to New Mexico. So a huge credit to them, and those leagues will be a lot of fun. We certainly did not cover everyone in this video, unfortunately, Fawcett. That would have been a very long YouTube video. Although maybe we can try to recreate the old Jordan Sperber magic of the one clip of every NCAA tournament team. That might be a March project if either of us have the time. My hunch is we won't, but we're all about big ideas this time of year, and that is certainly a big one. But if you have questions about individual other teams that maybe we didn't get to on the show, please, by all means, flag it in the Discord. Basket Under Review, the best place for all things college hoops. Check it out. Lots of fun in there, and hope everybody enjoyed their holidays. We will talk to you all again next week as conference play really heats up.